Wow, this is weird. It's like I'm in some sort of weird ghost chamber. Hey, it's Mike. I'm just live streaming as I record a video. So it looks like the Wi-Fi here isn't the absolute best, but hey, we got 10 people in already. This is like weird. Can you see and hear me okay? It's like, it looks strange to me from where I'm sitting, but I'm in Texas at the Denton Black Film Festival. Comes highly recommended. I'm just gonna type in, can you hear me okay? And who else is up? So, hey Jamil, yeah, I just called Charles. I'm hoping he has odd hours. He may be out, but if Charles calls, we can talk to him. Oh, excellent. So I'm in Denton, Texas, family, but at the Denton Black Film Festival, they actually they hooked it up nice. Denton, this is a very up-and-coming city. I guess I'll talk a little bit. But I didn't make the front page of the paper, but the festival did. On the front page opening night. Well, it wasn't opening night. It was the first night I was here, which was the second night of the festival. They had speech from Arrested Development. He screened a great documentary called 16 Jails, and in Richmond, Virginia, he participated in a program where he went to jail and recorded prisoners. They're not inmates, it's jail. So he did a whole program where he's recording them, getting them to tell their stories, and most of them were like rap artists. There's one guy, white guy in the movie, he was doing like country music and he had an incredible voice, but a lot of sad stories in terms of the recidivism, you know, how it was very easy to get caught up in the system and then come to rely on the system, you know, where it's like you can't get jobs, you might be in a halfway house, and it might be easy to fall back on the negative aspects of yourself and end up in the same place. So it definitely shine a light on it. And what I said to speech was, it's one of the best ones I've seen. Like, there's tons of films and videos about prison, jail is big topic for film, but this one I thought was unique because it has such a hope about it. It wasn't just exploiting, like, this is what happens when you're on lockdown. It was really about how these people were trying to make changes in their life, and they were using this art to express themselves and show us some humanity. Yeah, but I just want to get on. It looks weird to me. Is it coming clear? I'm paying all this extra money for the Wi-Fi at the Hilton. I love the hotel. It's an embassy suite, and so way more room than one person should be entitled to. I could have like a whole family of 20 up in this place, but it's just me, and it's the Wi-Fi. I don't have like a plug. Sometimes these business hotels have the jack that you can plug directly into. So the good news is, we can erase the feed if it doesn't look sharp, and I'm filming with my HD camera at the same time and recording the audio. So if this becomes something interesting, it's preserved better. But brings me, people just don't, Denton Black Film Festival. So I screened a piece that I did a few years ago. We did a Indiegogo for called Black Film Now, and it's one of those things, I guess. So it's like a 20-minute film. An earlier cut of it is on YouTube. Every once in a while I'll revise the edit when I take it to festival. But one of the things that Charles and I decided we wanted to do was travel more and ultimately book speaking engagements when his book is ready. So Denton was the first place that confirmed and called for this year. So for January I'm in Denton, Texas, and then February I'll be, some people were upset I didn't give enough fair warning. The last week of February I'll be at the Black Bottom Film Festival again in Pittsburgh, but I don't know if we're going to be showing black film now or what they're going to have me do, but I'm committed to being in Pittsburgh the end of February. Then I'm going to take some time off to work on editing a documentary that's been like in progress forever, so that we have at least one new project finished that won't be going straight to YouTube. It'll play festival, and so that's my day, and we had a good time sharing, rendering. Actually, one of the things, let me try this. I think one of the things that's hurting the feed, I'm uploading a video at the same time and they might be throttling me. So actually, I just finished uploading. I'm gonna close that window and see if it gives me a little more bandwidth by not having so many things open. Is that better? I don't know. It's still janky. Anyway, yeah, so it was a lot of fun. We screened to, it was like 30 or 40 people came to my screening, and it was good because it allowed me to talk a lot about the current state. Like we alluded a little bit in the last live stream, what's happening with the Oscars and the box office, and Sundance is happening as we speak. Big shout out to Chinoya Chukwu, who's a friend of mine, and she just premiered her film Clemency tonight, and already they're saying Alfre Woodard's gonna get an Oscar nomination. So I tweeted her back. I said, your life has changed, Chinoya. She's been wanting this for a long time. She had made another film right out of college called Alaska Land, and it was her vision to be at Sundance, and now she's got one of the top films there this year. So I'm really excited for her. I'm in some ways bittersweet that I can't be there because it's such an exciting year, but it's way more exciting to be in the festival and at the festival. And Denton, Texas, we haven't had a drop of rain, no mountains to climb, no snow, no lines. Everybody's treating, when you're in the festival, you get treated a lot better than when you're not. I can just cut the lines and talk to people. People remember you. It's a good feeling. So, and Denton's top notch. By all means, if you have film, I highly recommend this festival. But it's Ask Me Anything, and then because it's like, everybody's kind of left already, but I leave in the morning early, and I screwed up my schedule. I was drinking all this, like Walmart's across the street. I have a hole, it's leaking, a hole. Why is it leaking? It's not even open. 6-pack of these iced teas, so I've been staying awake more than I should. But I've also been getting a lot of information. It's really great. And not only being in the festival is great because you get to share work, but you also get to communicate with other filmmakers who are at your level dealing with the same issues that you're dealing with. So I had some really good conversations with these brothers from Oakland that had a film called The Broken Rose, and lot of I always see Oakland as a sister city to Philadelphia, so in terms of music and film and culture. And then when the whole question mark in Denton is what needs to happen to continue this to grow, because it's sort of like I always say the people that are benefiting now from this sort of affirmative action of like Oscars So White, they've been standing, waiting, ready to make films for years. It's just the system or the studios, that either didn't exist enough studios or for them to be included, or there wasn't enough pressure being put on certain people to be more inclusive. So, but I saw something similar like that happen when it was Black Lily and it was music. you know, Jazzy Fat Nasty started this showcase weekly for artists in Philadelphia, primarily women, people of color, and it caught right at the burst of the neo-soul movement, you know. And of course, as we all know, Philadelphia was a big hub with the Soulquarians and Larry Gold's studio for a lot of that music to be recorded in the first place. That could be a whole documentary in itself, how many great records were recorded by the Roots or affiliates of the Roots, you know, Floetry and Kindred and all those folks. But so it just caught a wave. But what happened, a lot of people, the Jasmine Sullivans, the Kindreds, they had been looking for those opportunities forever, but there's no opportunity, you know. So when that happened, they jumped right in. People recognized their talent. They were able to get deals, and their careers started. But you know, sort of like just like when stadium tours started opening up in the '70s, black artists couldn't appear at the Apollo, where they were expected to do 5, 6, 7 shows a day. They could get Kool and the Gang could reach the same number of people doing one show at in Landover, Maryland, that they could doing a whole week of shows at the Apollo. So that kind of dies off. So the question we're having here in Denton is, you know, how do you keep the door open for the next wave of people, and also a level of consciousness so that they're not just lured by the fame or the success, but also they understand what the overall struggle and the need is in terms of expressing ideas, and then also finally promoting the idea of excellence. You know, like none of it's going to last if the movies are not good, and good not only in terms of quality or acting or serious, you know, but also good in terms of things that people actually pay money to see, as opposed to waiting for them to hit Netflix or HBO or what have you, you know. So because, you know, all audiences kind of demand the same thing, which is entertainment first, and if you can include the message on top of it, it's better for everybody. But who's watching? We've got 12 people in the room. Everybody's staying up late. What time is it where you are? And did you go see Glass? I haven't seen it yet. What's, you know, we can hang out for, you know, maybe half an hour or something. As I ask me anything, lots of questions here. Sounds good. I miss the festival. Bring Mr. Charles. Well, Charles, the whole deal was to bring Charles, but he had big problems with his feet, and he didn't want to be on a plane until he got to the bottom of that. And I can't blame him. But you know, we would have, if we were here, trust me, like you know, you can't. Let me see if I can move this. I'm still rendering video, but you know, the room is super huge. This is just the suite part. The bedroom's on the other side. So we would easily, we could have recorded like 20 hours worth of content if Charles was here. I'm hoping he'll call. But I view a lot of your content but know little about you. Where are you from? I'm from Philly. You're in Las Vegas. Texas. To answer, but I'm from Philadelphia. I grew up there. But I went to film. I had the privilege of going to some really good film schools, and some of my peers have made fortunes for Hollywood. You know, at NYU, my classmates were Brett Ratner and Todd Phillips, who did the Hangover films, and Brett Ratner did Rush Hour, and you know, the whole state, David Wayne and them. You know, the guy who did Capote was a year behind me. Night Shyamalan, who's got Glass Out, he's also from Philly, and a year behind me. You know, so you know, the stratification, I think the major difference, aside from being, you know, white and sort of like having mainstream tastes that could be accounted for and within the Hollywood system at the time, also youth coming into MTV, you know, a lot of people kind of came out of music video that were going to film school at the time. I had no interest in doing music video. So you know, those things factored into the delayed gratification of, you know, having the big success, you know. But, you know, quite frankly, if I had, you know, had made a feature or had the opportunity to make a feature back then, I probably would have hated it. And you know, because I like doing things on my own terms. So went to the American Film Institute in Los Angeles. I have 2 degrees in film directing, one from NYU undergrad, one master's in film directing from the American Film Institute in Los Angeles. And then from there, couldn't afford to stay in Los Angeles at the time, moved back to Philly. Thought I would be staying there for just a couple years until I got some writing done, and then I'd go back to LA. But in the intervening time, I got a job working on Beloved with Oprah Winfrey and Jonathan Demme, and that was like supreme validation in terms of everything. I felt like everything that I was taught at American Film Institute was exactly the way things were done in a professional level. So, and it was very reinforcing. Also, Jonathan Demme, a very sweet soul in terms of not passive, but not a dominant, aggressive alpha director, you know. So all of that fit. And then the film after Beloved that shot in Philadelphia was 6th Sense, and that was a game changer for a lot of reasons. But for me, when I saw it, I said, wow, why am I chasing this Hollywood thing? If I just stand my ground and stay in Philly and just work on what a regional film, what does Philly mean? You know, with the technology the way it is, eventually Philadelphia will blow up. And I don't know if it has. I seriously, I could say it has not. You know, occasionally, you know, maybe once or twice a year, a production will come to Philadelphia, like a Creed or something, or Upside. But the talent to sustain it, literally in a major way, is literally limited to Night Shyamalan, in terms of somebody who works often enough to provide work. But, you know, it's still a tough system to break into. And of course, like I said, he was a year behind me at NYU, so I had no interest in being a production assistant on his film. You know, so eventually things happened where, you know, I worked as an editor for TV News in Philadelphia for 3 years, and they literally paid me to learn how to edit, because the switch was going to nonlinear. So I had some experience from film school on video editing, enough to pass the test, and they literally trained me in nonlinear editing, and I was making union rates as a, you know, it was horrible hours. Like I like right now, where it's at 12:54 a.m. New York time, I'd be getting dressed to go to work, and they'd have you up all night. That's why I gained all the weight and craziness, just trying to work to their demands. But I made enough money to buy my own equipment, and from there, in 2002 or 2002, I made my first films outside of film school and started going to festivals. And for the first 2 years, I didn't want to do any features. I ended up making a feature documentary by mistake called Philly Boy, which is on YouTube. But you know, the first 2 years I had my gear, because it was like I was blocked up, and in terms of seeing everybody else making work and me not being satisfied. I made 5 films in 2 years, like short, you know, narratives and documentaries. 2 of them for a local public television station that was giving out a grant. One was a documentary feature that played at the inaugural hip-hop film festival in the Bronx, and got picked up by Simmons Lathan for streaming. You know, so I was a little ahead of the curve at that point. And you know, but you know, none of it was monetizable, right? So you can quickly go broke if you don't have a business strategy that's gonna like allow you to make your money back to make the films and pay people to help make them better. So at a certain point, I got to an impasse where I didn't want to make any more films if I wasn't going to profit from them. And then the next door opened, which was somebody invited me to do a monthly screening series in Philadelphia, which became Reelblack Presents. And from the very first shows, we had standing room only, you know, sort of like if you enjoy the content, the curation of the channel, we were doing that in Philadelphia as a live event for years before I started putting things like that on YouTube. So we, you know, a lot of things had not been available even on VHS, and DVD was coming in, so we could not only like host premiere events for movies like young filmmakers like Pete Chapman, who's like directed 13 episodes of TV this year, but like in 2007 he had a feature film at Sundance with Zoe Saldana and you know, called Premium. And you know, we had a lot of great events, and we had developed a really good reputation. And from there, by me going to festivals with my own work, and also there's no black film festival in Philadelphia, you know, there was the need was established, and then, you know, I was able to build upon that, my expertise. So we're in our 16th season screenings. It's going to be the last regular season of programming for me, because I'm traveling all the time. I can't make commitments to be brick and mortar when I have opportunities to be other places. So, and then, you know, in 2007 I started Reelblack TV on PhillyCam. Well, before it was PhillyCam, it was Drexel University Television, and the idea for that was twofold. One, I had a friend who was an actor, and she said, I really, you know, I'm interested in doing more work. And I said, wow, well, I think you would be a good host for the show. So I had a host, and I had friends who in LA, they had public access. They made a show, and they had parlayed the relationships that they had doing, like showing music videos for unsigned bands and local LA independent artists into their own record label. And they were very successful for a long period of time. So I said, well, the goal isn't to do public access show, but if I can, you know, document this stuff and build relationships, maybe down the road it could be a video label or some other magazine or some other way to help like promote the idea that a black independent film, because so much of it was happening at the beginning of about 2006, 2007. So, you know, basically I've met virtually everybody who's been on that scene and interviewed them, and so that was the foundation of the YouTube channel. When YouTube came in, we were immediately a partner, and we were monetized like within a month of posting things on YouTube. They reached out and we monetized, and, you know, provided incentive, but it was only like phone bill money. For a long time it was like maybe $100 a month coming in from YouTube, just literally enough to pay the cell phone bill. And I didn't realize at the time it was because we were basically, it was to my taste, but it was like one-offs, right? And then we interviewed Dick Gregory, and two things happened. One, he's a superstar for YouTube. You know, YouTube and Blog Talk Radio, he worked so hard to get his message out and YouTube and Blog Talk Radio were like the only places you could get Dick Gregory information. So when we interviewed him, I didn't expect that he was going to talk so long, quite frankly. I came, you know, normally we would do a 10-minute interview, but it was before the show, and you know, he was talking, like the question I asked him, he had no interest in answering, but he just wanted to share all this information. And we had brought a bunch of tapes up. We had 2 cameras going, and the tape would run out, and I said, well, do you mind, this is great stuff, do you mind if we put another tape? And he's like, sure. And he went until it was time for him to actually go on stage, and all the stuff that he was saying on camera, he went on stage and told the audience. So we captured it, and it was so much, it was overwhelming. I sat on the footage for almost a year before I realized, like, just understanding the man, his mystique, and the audience that he had. I said, it doesn't make sense for me to try and edit any of this. And then that's really what transformed the channel, because we were putting up, Vlad TV was doing similar stuff, like it'd take an hour interview and chop it into 10-minute bits. And this was the very first time that I had ever done that for YouTube. So it immediately built our subscriber base. You know, it was almost like a perfect storm. And from there, it goes up and down in waves. But, you know, around the same time, I reacquainted with Charles and got more interested in promoting the idea of Black consciousness, and you know, part of it serving the audience that we develop, you know, like know your history, but at the same time, it sort of becomes a shrine for a lot of people. Like there's so much information that I've curated on the channel that it's hard to find anywhere else. And then, you know, bringing Charles into the mix with his knowledge, and of course you guys as viewers, what you share in terms of the comments, I think we're onto something special. And I think the last couple months we've seen another big growth spurt, so that's giving me a little more distance. So like right now it's not halftime yet, but we're up about 2 touchdowns. So I feel like this is the time to be audacious and go someplace and write a script and get back to the original plan, which is to make narrative feature films. But there's a lot of unfinished business right now. So that's the long answer for you guys. Texas. How's Texas? I my first time in Texas. I like it. Everybody's very hospitable. I shot some video, I think some's on Instagram. Everything's so spread out compared to Philly. The last place I was at outside of the East Coast was Gary, Indiana, and that was extremely depressing for me. Like I understood what a red state was about. You know, there's no industry at all. And in Texas, it seems like there's a lot of money, but it's also an audacity. Like you can't, you know, there's no dollar stores, there's no check cashing places in Denton that I'm seeing. This was all like ranch land for a long time, owned by 1 or 2 families is my understanding. And now the families are selling the land off and developing it. So, you know, it literally, like, they have all the same fucking stores as every other place in America. Like, so, but they have more money, right? So this is the very first time that I've seen a Walmart next to a Sam's Club. Like usually they distance them, so, but it's Walmart, it's Texas, right? So they have that, and then the whole strip where we are is like half built, but they have a big movie theater here, the Alamo Draft House, where a lot of the films were. And I was excited the first day because they had a El Pollo Loco and an In-N-Out Burger across the street from one another. So the first day I just went to both because it's been probably 6 years since I've been in California, and I didn't expect to see that stuff. So maybe my last time at In-N-Out Burger. There's so many. In-N-Out's the same, but there's so many better places. Like people taking their idea and just run with it to the point where, you know, it's, you know, I can see why when you, I don't know if you have LA friends, when you say, hey, you know, so when I go to LA, I'm excited about In-N-Out Burger, El Pollo Loco, and Amoeba Records, right? And I can usually get people to go to Amoeba, but it's like tricky with the parking, but nobody wants to go to this fast food stuff. They want to take you to their favorite, like, secluded spot, you know, like special food. So, because it's so common, you know, it's scarce on the East Coast. So I got that on my system, so when I spend time next month in LA, I'll be able to go to the, like, Los Feliz coffee shop and get some real food. Okay, so who else? Bud is on here. Did I answer all your questions, Bud? Give me a thumbs up. I gave you a long answer. But yeah, so now we're 16 years in on the screening series, about 12 years in on the YouTube channel. As we speak today, we're close to 250,000 subscribers, and I feel fairly safe that even though it's not the hugest number of people that watch all the time, we have had such a strong impact in terms of the way people think that I can kind of leverage that into making things that more people will feel the need to invest in, and then we can really see the ideas grow. So that's what 2019 is about, and the reason I'm in Denton, Texas, is to talk about these things and build the foundation for whatever reference material that will be, if it's Charles Wood's Tricknology book, or if it's me, or what have you. So that's the goal. You were in you left Gary to go to Vegas. I feel like that might have been a good move, but I mean, I was very, very depressed. You know, small town America, you know, basically. I think I just felt like it was everywhere. Now, the thing about Texas, there's a lot of Hurricane Katrina people here, and I didn't expect. Well, I wasn't even thinking about it when I got on the plane, but you know, that's a real thing. And you know, met this gentleman, Abraham, and he was the most upbeat person, one of the first people I saw, the most upbeat guy ever, very gregarious. And you know, I said, well, you don't sound like you're from Texas. He's like, no, I'm from New Orleans, right? And he's telling me this stuff, and then he's talked about how he lost his wife and his unborn child in Katrina. The ceiling fell on them, and he lost his great auntie and all this stuff. And he said it just like the psychological scars, he said, took him 2 or 3 years to get over it. And you know, so you know, that's a real thing, and it's something that I'm not always exposed to when I'm up in Philly, you know. So this kind of travel is helping me also, and live streaming, helping me to understand better where everyone is, so that, you know, I don't make the same mistakes that I'm telling other people what they're doing in terms of being very narrow-minded in terms of representation, or the characters, or, you know, how the catharsis that I want to bring audiences when I do a narrative. Yeah, Denton. Yeah, most of the film Dynasty 214. Most of the film festivals at North Texas DNT. You know, so I screened at the art gallery on the square. It's a very beautiful. I think there's some pictures on my Instagram. It's just, any college town, they make it like really cool. It has a nice vibe. You know, it felt like in some ways like Princeton. Everything's built around on a square. There's the main block, and it's just old town, like Back to the Future stuff, but glammed up in like a bohemian college town kind of way. Everything's extremely flat, literally no hills. Gas is about $1.99 a gallon, which is ridiculous. But then you figure this is where most of it comes from, so it should be cheap. And but you have to drive further, you know, so it's like you're burning more gas, but it costs less money. So I guess that's the trade-off. And I liked the people, Harry and Linda, that run the festival. They're the head of it. Extremely hospitable people, and very proactive, conscious-minded, and business-minded. You know, they're looking at the opportunity to grow this festival, not only in terms of bringing talent to Denton and building a name for the festival, but also the business opportunities that exist among investors here. Probably are unparalleled unless you're in tech, like in San Francisco or someplace. You know, you might find a little more tech money, but there's a lot of old money here that if you can sell it the right way, it's not about even just making one film. You could build a whole studio here if you make the right connections, and Austin is clearly an example of that, and I'm hoping that next year we'll get to Austin. But yeah, I'm enjoying Texas. Is there anybody else? We're 34 minutes. The battery on this other camera is very low, so I'm concerned that the card will corrupt. Yeah, actually, I had my huh shirt on. Dick Gregory videos. I'm sorry. The Dick Gregory video was classic. Every time he said huh, well, it was a blessing. Hang on, just one second. We'll show, because this is, it looks like I'm in a storm. Like ghosts are up in this hotel or some shit. Poltergeists want to be on the channel. Yeah, I mean, Dick Gregory, it changed my life. It changed a lot of people's life. You know, he's our patron saint. You know, if I didn't have the opportunity to run into Baba Dick, it'd still be a struggle. I still would feel like I'm pushing against a hard wind just to, you know, it's not that I'm seeking validation, but you just want an audience. And, you know, what I tell Charles all the time is that, you know, not everybody tunes in all the time because they like certain things, but once you lock into the channel and I'm posting regularly, you're going to be exposed to things that you're not going to find elsewhere. And you know, Baba Dick is the key to getting a lot of people into the space to discover things. And then you know, what I enjoy is reading the comments. Not like, hey, Mike, you suck as an interviewer, you're really frightened, you know, that's karmic shit I don't like, but it goes with the territory. Paul Mooney really hates you, that kind of shit. You don't know anything when you say things like that. So I have to absorb that, but the trade-off is, you know, we get to share more things and feel like we have an audience for it. Well, Paul Mooney, you know, I don't think he's doing any more interviews, frankly. I would not do that. You know, he makes appearances, but you know, we've seen the best of Paul Mooney. So I said that there's maybe a documentary coming in the future of Paul Mooney, and you know, we just posted, I dug out all of his scenes from the Buddy Holly story to share that, and you know, as we find, you know, vintage things that are, you know, not being utilized or claimed by some other people, you know, I'll put it, or there's a bargain to be made in terms of sharing it online, you know, fair use, what have you, then I'll put some Paul Mooney up. I love Paul Mooney, but and you know, we were saying the other day at lunch today, like if Paul were out now, if Patrice O'Neal were out now, you know, fresh with all the things that are going on in the world, they would be the absolute top comedians, and they would, you know, they would not be making any apologies for anything or retracting tweets or anything. They would just be super bold and audacious and fearless as they are, you know, and we wouldn't have, you know, they just make it plain, and we wouldn't have these issues in terms of what social media is doing to people, as far as what they feel their right to say things are. Paul and Patrice would shut them up, but you know, thankfully they do have a decent body of work that you can go back to. So, you know, but I mean, ask me anything. I know it's late. We're here. I mean, I've got to be on a plane in, well, about 12 hours from now. I'll be in the sky somewhere. And I guess the shutdown, is that the news? The shutdown is over. So an easier chance of making it home. Have Robert Townsend Hour that was on Fox in the 90s. Townsend Television, the TV show. Charles probably has them. You know, they're floating around on YouTube. I wasn't a major taper of that stuff back then. I know, I'm pretty sure Charles has one or two, and we have Barry. That's the person Charles considers his brother, is Barry, who's a comedian and a writer on Townsend TV and Living Color, and the other Robert Townsend show that with the Faison Love. Which show are you talking about? The variety show, or the one with Faison where it was sort of like a Cosby thing? Which show are we talking about? But Barry was involved in all of those, so I know somewhere Charles taped them because Barry was involved, but I don't, you know, like you saw the storage units, he's got boxes buried with VHS, and you know, he's got to go through them, and then like I'll get a bag of them and I'll sort through stuff, and that's how we figure out what's going to go on. Actually, as soon as I log off, I'm going to upload this really great, almost 3 hours of John Henrik Clarke debating Mary Lefkowitz. It's awesome. This is a longer version than the other ones that are on YouTube, and it's a much clearer copy. So, you know, he's got a ridiculous number of things that he happened to tape back in the 80s and 90s, or traded with people in order to get. So, you know, it may take the greater part of a couple years to really get things up, and then we don't want to put a whole series of things. We just want to give you a taste of it, let you know that it exists, what it looked like. So if he did have a Townsend show, we'd probably put 1 or 2 episodes up, unless we had a thing. The variety show with Keenan Wayans. Well, you know, you can also get the HBO Partners in Crime. Those were on DVD. You know, those you can still find. Jeff Clanagan's Urban Works put the whole series out. They may have been edited. So I think there's 4 DVDs of those, and they vary in price. But and Townsend himself, if you follow Robert Townsend on Instagram and Twitter, he'll put clips from those shows up. But at this point, because it's HBO and it's fairly available, it's not high on my list, because every time we put something up that I didn't make personally, we're risking a copyright strike. And the way it works is, if you get 3 strikes, you lose your channel. So there's a lot of scrutiny in terms of what goes up when, really working hard to identify who has the rights and what are the repercussions if we are violating. So that's why you're seeing a lot of music going up right now, because they seem to have worked out a deal for the most part. Most of the record labels, they just demonetize you and take the views for themselves. They take the song credits, but they won't take the clips off the channel, and they won't give you a copyright strike. So that's one of the reasons why you're seeing a lot more audio recordings up now than you have in the past, because it helps generate traffic and conversation, and it's something that there's some wiggle room on. Mosali. I'm in Philadelphia. Charles is in Yonkers, so I go back and forth. He either comes down, or I go up to see him, and we make content, or we'll do stuff over the phone, on Skype. And this thing stopped. The card is full, and the battery died. Hate this. It's a small card. Let me do this. Well, this camera's right here. I'm sure this is overkill to use this, but sometimes it sounds better. I'll have to use the camera audio for the video that you have. Tried. Did the best I could. Thought I had it right. Always have a backup plan when you're filming, but batteries die quickly, as well as cards fill up, and I don't want to erase anything. I don't know what I've been backing up and what I haven't. Hey, Poetic Lady Chell, welcome everybody. So just before we go, you know, my laptop battery is about to die, and I didn't want to be on more than an hour. Where are you guys from? What part of the country? And what would you like to see more of? I mean, I get a sense that the comedy's working for you now. And if you put it out in the ether, you never know how we find it. Like somebody, after I found Richard Pryor biography, somebody said, "Do you have Eddie Murphy?" And I didn't know if I did or not, but because I was aware somebody was interested, it sort of popped right out. You know, there's just boxes and boxes of things that exist that are not organized in any real, like, indexable way, you know. So if you mention it, either we can work to get it, or maybe we already have it, and just, like I said, it's not on the front burner yet. So So before we go, like, what do you like about the channel? What do you want to see more of? Where are you watching from? What time zone are you in? Because I think it'd be interesting to everybody to see, how this whole thing hits in terms of YouTube. It's always interesting when I look at the analytics. Like, we'll have people in Guam sometimes, like one click, somebody watching a video in some remote part of the world, and then a lot of people. It's always English language stuff, but it's amazing how this reaches people. Anybody? Bueller? Thank you, Random Thoughts. Any info on Prince? I'm afraid of Prince. He gave me a copyright strike. I'm not fucking with Prince. You can go somewhere else on YouTube and deal with Prince. I'm not taking any risks with that, because literally the estate not only blocked the video, but they gave me a copyright strike. So I know they're it's very litigious. The lawyers are making more money than the actual family at this point for Prince. And even though they rely on collectors for a lot of the footage, they're in the process of making a bunch of documentaries and deals. So certain things you're not gonna see all the time on Prince. I would say if there's Prince stuff, anything that is interesting to you, find a way to download it off of YouTube, because it's no guarantee it's going to stay up. They blocked the R. Kelly video that I put up. It was up for a long time. I'd say 2 weeks, and then they completely blocked it after the documentary hit. So but there's other people, other R. Kelly videos are up, but for whatever reason we get targeted. I have no control over it. I just see a pattern, so I try to avoid it. So as much as I would love to share Prince stuff, and I'm a big Prince fan, I'm not going to take the risk, because it's fairly widely available from other places. Bamako, am I saying Bamako? I know the film. So you're up in Mali. It was Monday in Mali, but it's probably 1 in the afternoon. Is it hot there? Mosali Mansa from Bamako. So now I have to make plans to be in Mali before too long. We got a friend there, so we can go worldwide, global with this endeavor. Great content. So, all right, folks are tuned. We still got 15, 16 people in. I did my job. I didn't finish my tea, but anything else? Ask me anything before I go. And we appreciate you, and thanks for staying up late. I keep super odd hours, so anybody who's up, I appreciate. Fixerism, well, what time is it where Fixerism is? I mean, here in Texas, it's 12:24 a.m. It's hour difference from New York. Lady Lachelle, okay. George Clinton, I wanted to put up osmium, but I have to go digging for it. That's my, working on a piece, documentary on Leon Ware. I actually met George Clinton and interviewed him, talking about Leon very briefly, for a minute. He gave me a sound bite, and we were like putting up audio with samples, like obscure samples, and I had a partner. He gave me a bunch of files, but I wanted osmium because it's out of print. It's not on streaming, which is the first Parliament album, and it's got a lot of like my automobile, which was sampled by NWA, and all kinds of weird samples. But Leon has a song on there called "Fantasy is Reality," but it's a bonus track. So when I got hold of it, I couldn't. The bonus tracks weren't on there, but I have it buried in the basement. So George Clinton, everybody, we have royalty in the building. Poetic Lady Lachelle is George Clinton's niece, and of course we just put up the PJ's soundtrack the other day, and George Clinton did the theme song for that. So I think he's fairly well represented. Okay, NYC 124. That's right, like Robin Bird hour 124. Is anybody Manhattan Cableites on there? Is Robin Bird still on Manhattan Cable? I miss those days. J1, I appreciate that. We all appreciate that. I want to say thank you for all the content and inspiration for real. So yeah, it makes Manhattan Cable. Robin Bird was like all the show world people back in the day. Like they could put like that, and Screw magazine had a show. Like it was like the only place in the 80s you could see nudity on regular like cable TV. It was public access. It was like crazy. So that's like my college memory when we first got cable. It came in fuzzy too. We were paying a lot of money for cable and it was fuzzy shit. But you know, you'd have like Heather Hunter and all these crazy people showing up doing like their club act, you know. So I always imagine Robin Bird looked like she was about 70 years old back in 1989. I'm just imagining like if she's still on the show, it'd be like Captain Noah or something, like dragging out these old strippers or something. That's how my head works. Manhattan Neighborhood Network, they changed the name of it. Okay, yeah. I was like, where are all those tapes? That's the crazy thing. You'd think they'd be floating around. If she's been on that long, you'd think she would have put out a DVD or something. But they did use a lot of regular people music, so I can understand why that might prevent them from releasing things like that. But that's a memory. And of course, if you're in New York, the late Joe Franklin, and that's a tape on my bucket list. The very first time Chris Rock appeared on, the first time for a lot of people in New York was on Joe Franklin. And when he passed away, I don't know what happened to his archive of tapes or whatever, but one day I want to embarrass Chris and find that Joe Franklin tape and put it on the channel. So if anybody showed that. Midnight Madness. What was Midnight Madness about? 21%. Okay, the Night Owl Society. Everybody went home. All the filmmakers that were here, either we weren't introduced or we spent so much time together, we're tired of looking at each other. So I did want to let people know about Texas and the trip here. So I said, let's make it interactive, because the room is really nice. But then I got ghosts in here. And then Sundance is happening. There's so many things happening. The big talk is the Michael Jackson documentary. They said they were protesting that shit. I don't know if I want to deal with that one, but we'll have a lot to talk about in the coming weeks. They have 46 black films at Sundance, and people will be making deals, including a remake of Native Son that's updated. And like I said, my friend Chinoya, Clemency, and things like that. So there's a lot going on. Yeah, rest in peace, Joe Franklin. Big, to the sky, Joe. Recognized a lot of talent and a bigger slob than me. It's something to be said for collectors. You know, like a lot of stuff. You know, I wish Joe Franklin had the wherewithal. If he just put all of his old shows on YouTube, he'd be making money forever. That shit is gold. I mean, it's like, I don't know if anybody else is familiar with Joe Franklin, and a few episodes I'm sure on YouTube, but Google, when you get off, look up Joe Franklin show. But it's it's American Idol before American Idol. Like, he would literally he had to fill time. Anybody that said they had talent, he would put on the show, and sometimes he was right and sometimes he was wrong, but when you didn't have anything else to look at, it was something that stayed on for like 40 years, Joe Franklin show. Okay, well, Manhattan Neighborhood Network then is one of the channels that Charles has gone to, one of the studios. He did another person's show and they filmed it at their studio. You know, well, we're almost an hour. Batteries are dying. I'm running out of gas, guys. You know, caught up to me. But I appreciate you. You like the look. I got compliments today because I actually shaved. Well, you know, if you got black folks from Joe Franklin, I'll trade for them. I don't want to pay money, but if you have some good stuff, I have Betamax. I can either convert it or give you some stuff that I can't put on the channel. So catch me offline. Cash me outside. Maybe if there's some interesting Joe Franklin videos, you know, black talent, it would be great to share that. The Flixerism. So that's all I got. I really appreciate you hanging out with me, and I'll be back in Philly tomorrow night, this time tomorrow. I'm not sure what I'm going to post. The interview that you saw, the outtake of Richard Roundtree, that's going to go up the week What Men Want comes out. I'm embargoed on the review until after the movie opens. But as soon as I log off here, I'll finish uploading the John Heinrich Clark video, which I thought was excellent in terms of the discussion. I wish John was more in it. I think he's fascinating presence. And it's a debate on the origins of Western civilization. Did Western civilization, the seat of Western civilization, is it Africa, Greece, or Asia? And they have these experts on, including Lefkowitz, Margaret Lefkowitz, and it's a classic debate. But Charles' copy is about 10 minutes longer than any of the other copies on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's because it repeats something or it is more complete, but it's certainly, I'd say, 3 generations clearer than the ones that are populated. So I was really excited about that one. Yeah, so that's gonna, if it's like the Late Show, you know, up next, John Heinrich Clark and Marian Lefkowitz debate the origins of Western civilization, only on Reelblack TV on YouTube. Old Arsenio's. Joan Rivers shows are great too. I have one I was told I can't share it. It's Chris Rock's first appearance, national TV appearance, was on Joan Rivers, but you know, he talks about it, but he doesn't want anybody to see it. So I have that episode, but nobody was really thinking about taping the Joan Rivers. Any shows like that didn't stay on. Are gold nowadays. Even the Joan Rivers talk show, like I had the little snippet of with James Brown. It's like, wow, I wish the whole episode existed. You know, certain things we just assume would always be there aren't necessarily there, so it's a good thing. You know, and that's a good thing. We all have the opportunity to capture our own history and TV. Not only TV history, but our own history by filming ourselves and documenting. And I want everybody to do that and get really good at it, so that, you know, because I think that's really how Hollywood goes out of business. People just stop going to the movies. They spend time doing things that they want to do and don't look at the stuff as complete distraction, money grabs that it is. You know, competing for your attention. Just go watch what you want to see, or go read a book, or watch YouTube. Value your time. Everyone has the same amount of time. It should be valued and appreciated, so, and respected. So, for Spaco, well, the plan, the whole reason I'm here in Texas is to get good at what I'm doing, so that people will actually pay me more to go out and talk shit. So, and have movies. I can't talk too much shit about other people's stuff if I'm not making better shit. So talking to other filmmakers, being exposed to their work, and also talking to regular people about what they like, it automatically, the minute I touched down, it made it all worthwhile, just the communication. So I would imagine that for Spaco, all those things are in the future. It's just how do you make the quantum leap? So you know, so that's where we are, and we're at exactly 1 hour. So I'm gonna see if I can hit this stop right at 1 hour. Thanks for watching, guys, and love you, and stay black.